This is KCAL 9 News at 10, Southern California's #1 rated crime newscast.
There was blood around the body. There was a rifle in immediate proximity of the deceased.
A deadly end tonight to an all-day siege in Sylmar. The man who shot an LAPD officer in the face is found dead inside his home. Good evening, I'm Sylvia Lopez in for Rick Garcia.
And I'm Sharon Tam. Sorry, Sylvia. And we begin with developing news tonight. The man who shot LAPD officer Steve Jenkins is dead tonight, found in his home with a rifle nearby. And Officer Jenkins remains in critical condition with severe injuries to his face and to his chest. KCAL 9's Serene Branson begins our live team coverage from the scene where police demolished part of that home in the search for the suspect. Serene.
Well, Sharon, after a nearly 24-hour standoff and an unprecedented use of some heavy-duty high-tech equipment, commanding officers say they finally felt it was safe enough to send officers into the home just before 8 o'clock. There, they say they discovered the deceased suspect on the second floor.
During a long period of time, after several exchanges of gunfire, we heard nothing from the suspect.
After a dramatic all-day standoff, police and paramedics went into the torn-up Sylmar home where the suspect had been holed up.
There was blood around the body. There was a rifle in immediate proximity.
At this point, police say it's unclear whether he was shot or took his own life, but they say attempts for him to give up had failed.
Even to the point where we took extra time and explained to him via a PA, because he wouldn't talk with us, that the officer is alive, that there's no reason to make this worse.
Officers used two kinds of gas, tear and hot. He fired at officers. They fired back. Finally, they used what's called a BATCAT to tear apart the home, giving the suspect less room to hide and allowing them to send in robots with cameras. It all started early this morning when police responded to a domestic violence call made by the suspect's wife. K-9 officer Steve Jenkins was shot when officers approached the home.
The guy that they were looking for had a dog. The dog ran out first, and then next thing you know, the cop ran out with holding his shoulder, screaming, saying that he was shot.
Neighbors were evacuated to Sylmar High School as police contained the area. Sources have identified the suspect as 53-year-old Sergio Salazar. According to the LA Times, he has a 1993 firearms conviction in the Antelope Valley.
We've collectively scratched our heads a little bit because his criminal history is relatively old. And so what prompted this? What caused this man to do the things that he did today? We don't know.
A home now sits in shreds. The BATCAT never before used by LAPD to tear apart a home like this.
I have no question that what we did today was the right thing to do.
And as we take a look live, you can still see the massive police presence out here. They will be here all night tomorrow and even through Wednesday, one of the commanding officers told me. And a number of the nearby homes are still evacuated tonight. By the way, we did ask the deputy chief who's responsible for the destruction done to that home and perhaps neighboring homes. He said the city is ultimately responsible for that. That's the latest tonight in Sylmar. Serene Branson, KCAL 9 News.
All right, Serene, and KCAL 9's Melissa McCarty is live at Providence Holy Cross Hospital in Mission Hills, where Officer Jenkins is being treated tonight. Melissa.
Well, he has been worked on by a trauma team since early this morning, and right now Officer Jenkins is sedated on a breathing machine in stable but critical condition.
22-year veteran officer Steve Jenkins has always wanted to be a public servant.
He has no fear, and he will work from sun up to sundown.
He comes from an entire bloodline of officers, from his son, a patrol officer, to his wife, a sergeant who was captured leaving the hospital tonight. She embraced fellow officers after a long, traumatic day.
Being police officers themselves, they understand and they recognize the dangers.
Fellow officer Lieutenant Bob Arcos, who's worked with Jenkins on the K-9 unit for 6 years, says during tough times like today, it's usually Jenkins who lightens the team's mood.
Steve will usually come up with a joke or two, and usually it'll be the butt of that joke, but it really changes the day and puts things back in perspective. We have a very serious job. We have a very dangerous job.
Chief Charlie Beck called Jenkins a true hero, an officer just doing his job, ambushed after a domestic violence call.
This is the tragedy of a society that is so well armed.
At Providence Holy Cross, a blood drive. Within hours, more than 100 people and officers gave blood to help.
And we pray for him. and it's a brotherhood.
Despite heavy body armor and headgear, Jenkins suffered 2 entry wounds just before this gun battle ignited. A bullet pierced the right side of his face and traveled through his lower jaw. A bullet then traveled through his collarbone and out of his chest.
That injury resulted in multiple rib fractures, some damage to large blood vessels, damage to his lung, and quite a bit of blood in his chest.
Now, Officer Jenkins is not out of the danger zone just yet. His colleagues say it is day by day. His team does plan to return here along with his family tomorrow. That's the latest for you here in Mission Hills. Melissa McCarty, KCAL 9 News.
Hi, Melissa.